Section 1 of Observations upon the Apocalypse of St. John. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Adam Bielka. Observations upon the Apocalypse of St. John by Sir Isaac Newton. Chapter 1 Introduction concerning the time when the Apocalypse was written. Irenaeus introduced an opinion that the Apocalypse was written in the time of Domitian, but then he also postponed the writing of some of the sacred books and was to place the Apocalypse after them. He might perhaps have heard from his master Polycarp that he had received this book from John about the time of Domitian's death. Or indeed, John might himself at that time have made a new publication of it, from whence Irenaeus might imagine it was then but newly written. Eusebius, in his Chronicle and Ecclesiastical History, follows Irenaeus, but afterwards, in his evangelical demonstrations, he conjoins the banishment of John into Patmos with the deaths of Peter and Paul, and so do Tertullian and Pseudo-Prochorus, as well as the first author, whoever he was, of that very ancient fable that John was put by Nero into a vessel of hot oil, and coming out unhurt, was banished by him into Patmos. Though this story be no more than a fiction, yet was it founded on a tradition of the first churches, that John was banished into Patmos in the days of Nero. Epiphanios represents the Gospel of John as written in the time of Domitian, and the Apocalypse even before that of Nero. Aratus, in the beginning of his commentary, quotes the opinion of Irenaeus from Eusebius, but follows it not, for he, afterwards, affirms the Apocalypse was written before the destruction of Jerusalem, and that former commentators had expounded the sixth seal of that destruction. With the opinion of the first commentators agrees the tradition of the churches of Syria, preserved to this day in the title of the Syriac version of the Apocalypse, which title is this: The Revelation which was made to John the Evangelist by God in the island of Patmos, into which he was banished by Nero the Caesar. The fame is confirmed by a story told by Eusebius out of Clemens Alexandrinos and other ancient authors, concerning a youth whom John, some time after his return from Patmos, committed to the care of the bishop of a certain city. The bishop educated, instructed, and at length baptized him, and then, remitting of his care, the young man thereupon got into ill company, and began by degrees first to revel and grow vicious, then to abuse and spoil those he met in the night, and at last grew so desperate that his companions, turning a band of highwaymen, made him their captain. And, saith Chrysostom, he continued their captain a long time. At length John returned to that city, and hearing what was done, rode to the thief, and, when he out of reverence to his old master fled, John rode after him, recalled him, and restored him to the church. This is a story of many years, and requires that John should have returned from Patmos rather at the death of Nero than that of Domitian, because between the death of Domitian and that of John there were but 2 years and a half, and John in his old age was so infirm as to be carried to church, dying above 90 years old, and therefore could not be then supposable to ride after the thief. This opinion is further supported by the allusions in the Apocalypse to the temple and altar and holy city as then standing, and to Gentiles who were soon after to tread under foot the holy city and outward court. 'Tis confirmed also by the style of the Apocalypse itself, which is fuller of Hebraisms than his Gospel. For thence it may be gathered that it was written when John was newly come out of Judea, where he had been used to the Syriac tongue, and that he did not write his Gospel
Sample complete. Ready to continue?